Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. Also welcome to a brand new subscriber pick video. For those of you who don't know, subscriber picks are reading vlogs in which every month you choose a book for me from among 4 or 5 options for me to read, vlog and share my thoughts about it with you. And for March you chose Independence by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. Now I'm a little terrified because we all know how the last subscriber pick, that was a Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni book, went. Spoiler alert, I DNF'd the book. But I'm hoping that this book, Independence, is going to be a better one because of the topics that it deals with. So before we start on with the vlog, let me tell you what this book is all about. India, 1947. In a rural village in Bengal lived 3 sisters, daughters of a well-respected doctor. Priya, intelligent and idealistic, resolved to follow in her father's footsteps and become a doctor, though society frowns on it. Deepa, the beauty, determined to make a marriage that will bring her family joy and status. Jamini, devout, sharp-eyed and a talented quilt maker with deeper passions than she reveals. Theirs is a home of love and safety, a refuge from the violent events taking shape in the nation. Then their father is killed during a riot and even their neighbors turn against them, bringing the events of their country closer to home. As Priya determinedly pursues her career goal, Deepa falls deeply in love with a Muslim, causing her to break with her family. And Jamini attempts to hold her family together even as she secretly longs for her sister's fiancé. When the partition of India is officially decided, a drastic and dangerous change is in the air. India is now for Hindus, Pakistan for Muslims. The sisters find themselves separated from one another, each on different paths. They fear for what will happen to not just themselves, but with each other. I knew that this was set around and during the partition, but I didn't imagine that it would be so fraught with emotions. And oh my god, the combination of the sisters' relationships and the political turmoil in India during that time. I can only imagine the scale of the heartbreak that is about to impact these sisters' lives, and I cannot wait to read the story. I have a Kindle ebook for this. So without any further ado, let's dive right into this vlog and let's read the subscriber pick for the month of March that you have chosen for me, which is Independence by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. Hi there, today is the 26th of March and I have been reading Independence and I have a lot of opinions about some of the characters. So in this first few chapters we are introduced to the main cast of characters, the sisters Deepa, Jamini and Priya, and their father Nabakumar, their mother Beena, and Amit's father Somnath, I think his name is, and Somnath's sister Manorama. And then there is Abdullah, who is Nabakumar's business associate, and his nephew Raza. And we see the different kinds of persons that the sisters are. This story focuses on their paths and how it converges or diverges through independence and what all happens. Deepa is the eldest and she is like the vain, the beauty, and she gets everything she wants. And then there's Jamini, who is considered to be the black sheep of the family, and she tries very hard to get her mother's approval. And then there's Priya, the youngest, who has dreams of becoming a doctor like her father, and she follows him around, helping him, assisting him in operations, and she has dreams of breaking the social barriers and becoming a doctor rather than getting married and having children and doing what women were just expected to do during those times. Deepa seems a little vain, Jamini seems a little prickly, and Priya seems a little floaty in the way that her character is very optimistic and little too idealistic. When her father tells her why he is apprehensive of her writing the entrance exam, medical exam, she says, those trivialities do not bother me, but in a way her father is also right. So she is that kind of a character who is prepared to do anything to make her dreams come true, but to what extent is she willing to go to, that remains to be seen, I think. But the introduction to these sisters is like, Deepa scintillates in her confident beauty. Jamini is pale with virtue and suppressed longing. Priya glows. passionate with purpose. Basically what I was saying just now. Of course, dowries and marriages would come into question because this book starts in 1946, in August 1946. So we know that at least during that time, society had a very narrow-minded view of what a woman should do. Things have gotten a lot better and we do have a long way to go, but this journey has been a lot. And at one point there is this description of how Priya looks at dowries and it starts off very well. I'm like, yes, you go girl. She goes, Priya has no wish to get married. Even so, the notion of dowries infuriates her. Is a woman not valuable enough in herself? She asks. Good question. And very valid question. And the answer to that question is yes. She is valid, she is valuable in herself. But this next part is where I cringed. When a man brings home his bride, isn't the family gaining a housemaid they will never have to pay? I mean, if a man is bringing home a bride, it is as a wife, not as a housemaid. That's not a valid counter argument. Like, really? I mean, I can't really blame either the author or the character for that because it's a character. It's a character trait. But instantaneously, that was what I thought. And then we are introduced to Nabakumar, who is these three sisters' father, and he seemed to me to be such a kind and compassionate man. At the beginning of his introduction in the story, he just lived for the masses. He lived for people. He lived to do good in society. Through Nabakumar's descriptions, we are taken through the Churchill manufactured famine of Bengal, in which about 1 million people died. We see his pain as a doctor to having to see all those people dying and not being able to do anything about it. It just splintered something inside me. And Navakumar is a progressive father as much as the times would allow anyway. But I'm coming off the back of reading coming out as Dalit, and the fact that he sends money to Gandhi's Harijan Sevak Sangh, it icks me so much. And of the sisters, Priya, she looks up to her father with stars in her eyes and as if he hung the moon or something, and I can understand that. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to judge that quick. Nabakumar has his reasons for being apprehensive of Priya joining the medical college, how women are treated, but to be fair to Priya, I do understand her ambition also. I'm on her side when it comes to realizing her dream and everything. But then again, I wouldn't go so far as to call Nabakumar's concerns as trivialities because they are pretty huge things. And I admire Priya's dedication, the strength that she shows, her want to go through it anyway, to overcome all of it by hard work, by showing her own potential and being so ambitious and all. But Nabakumar says this one thing that I'm like, he goes, better you prepare yourself for marriage, learning skills that men appreciate in their wives. Like, okay, I have to keep reminding myself that this was set in 1946. The whole family is planning to go to Kolkata on a vacation of sorts, a small holiday of sorts, and they are staying at one of Amit's dad's houses, and Navakumar is very chill about the hartals. And then I thought that maybe, it is human nature to not think of something or its import in the moment, but once it is done and once something happens, everything hits you like a jackhammer. And I am so scared to read further at this point because 1946, 1947, those years were like hell for the people who went through partition. And until this point, it's all calm. We are not at the national level yet. We are at the personal level. And then in Kolkata, Nabakumar's associate Abdullah and his nephew come to visit, and we find out that Raza is part of the Muslim League. And that made me think that perhaps things are going to get way too complicated. And now Jamini is also doing desperate things, and I'm like, Amma, Jamini. And in her desperation, she wishes this: let something change. Let something break. I don't care what. I don't care how. Babe, you should really be careful what you wish for. Okay, so that's where I'm at right now. I'm 3 chapters in. I'm about 15% into the story and I'm really liking it so far. The characters are layered and consistent. The storyline is building up very nicely. I can feel that tension underneath it all. And the real world of the time is going to come barreling in along with all of its great divides and issues. I can feel it. I mean, yeah, there are a few places that feel like forced info dumps, but they are really very few and far between. But this is a great start to the story. It makes me really hopeful in its own way, and I cannot wait to continue reading it. Hi there. Today is the 5th of April and I have been reading quite a bit of independence. I got through about half the book. I'm at 51 or 52%. Where we left off was when the whole family, they go to Calcutta and they are stuck in the middle of riots. Nabakumar comes to know that Abdullah and his nephew are in trouble or something, and he goes out. He's ready to plunge into the rioters, saying that you want me to be a coward, to crawl into a hole like a dog to save my skin, to abandon Abdullah and Raza when they need me most. As much as I love that he's not prepared to leave his friends without any help, I must say that he is doing the exact same thing to his family. And this is not the first time that he has done that. And this is despite Beena's pleas. And I love that he is such a straightforward man, that he is willing to fight for independence, he is willing to fight for freedom. I just wanted to point out that the way he says that he will not abandon someone, it's not really true that he wouldn't do that to anybody else, because he has been doing that to his family. And this brings me back to a previous quote in the book, to an earlier quote which says, when men go off to be heroes, do they even realize what it does to the women they leave behind? And oh my god, what the things that happen to these women, both internally as well as from society. It just disgusted me the way society can be, even though I know that I am a product of that same society, product of the time and all that. But for how long will you hide behind the product of the time excuse? And this book reminds me of how at one point in my life I used to resort to whataboutery, and that happened in a review as well, which I wrote, which was published in a newspaper. I am not particularly proud of that review at this point, but after having read so many books, I understand that there are so many nuances to being a majority and a minority in a country, and how those affect injustices and how those affect hate crimes. So when talk about the Hindu-Muslim riots around the time of the partition comes around, I know exactly what to think now. And as the author mentions all of these incidents of Hindu-Muslim hatred in this book, which were based on true events, we know how the partition affected people, and we know how it has been, things that people went through. And as I read these afresh in Independence, it was just like my heart was breaking all over again, because it reminds me over and over again that the British, they decided to just up and leave one day, to put this problem off onto someone's heads, to offload it to someone else's head. And the solution they found for that was to draw a random line and set into motion such a catastrophic line of events that took so many lives, millions of lives. And we know that this was what sort of whetted and whipped up the violent appetites of the extremists on both sides. But the question here is, the question that I have to ask is, what level of responsibility should we attribute to all parties involved? I feel bad for Jamini though, because no matter how much she works to make her mother happy, Beena is always putting her down. She's always demanding things of her. And Beena favors Deepa over Jamini. It's sad to see, because she has devoted her life to making her mother happy, to want that one bit of attention from her mother, just like her sisters have been getting all their lives, Deepa more than anyone. And she prays, she has this one prayer where she says, make her love me as I love her, and this just splintered my heart in two. The way these characters are shifting and changing and evolving is so emotional for some reason, because imagine losing a loved one and your whole character development, your whole character arc, your whole evolution is because of that. Plus, imagine having to prove yourself that you're a good human being just because you're from a different religion, irrespective of which side you see it from. And when Priya sees Deepa and Raza together, and she realizes what is happening and how Raza is a good man after all, she realizes that she does actually like Raza. So she thinks this one particular thing after that. In this world, she has learned goodness is not enough. Even now, 78 years after the events of this particular section of the book, it's just not enough. Goodness is not enough. And society and situation and circumstances were such in those times that patriarchal conditioning ensured that even women worked against women. Or else, how do you explain Beena punishing Priya for what she thinks is Deepa's fault? And then these two sections, actually, quite a few sections actually, which I don't think I can explain in my own words better than CBD does, because she's CBD and I'm me. The leaders of India circle each other, baring their teeth. Across the ocean, a prime minister realizes that a prize is slipping from his grasp. It is about to crash to the ground. He must find a strategy, get rid of it before it shatters, shift the blame. A description of what happened in India back then. Just they looted and pillaged for as long as they could, and then when they realized that things were not going their way, they decided to give it up, which is what we wanted, but they did it in a way that cost millions of lives. And with this in the background, this whole book is about these three sisters, Deepa, Jamini and Priya, jostling each other for space, for prominence. So when they are meeting for what feels like the last time at that point, Deepa leaves first so she will not be late for work. No, it is so that she will not have to watch her sisters depart, so that she will not be the one left behind. Even in this loneliness, in this solitude, in this sort of thing, there is attachment to her sisters, but also she doesn't want to be the one left behind. That one sentence is enough to tell you that in her situation, Deepa is looking out for herself. Self-preservation comes first. And that is as it should be, given her precarious situation. Another question that the author raises in this book is a very important one about cultures and love, and how these two mix, and how reality can be so harsh for so many people. And she asks, can a man, even Raza, whom she loves with all her heart, make up for the loss of culture, family, community, generations of tradition woven into her being? Is it because she is a creature of habit and tradition and community that the loss of it all hits her even harder when her situation is changed, when her position, her circumstances are changed? Can he make up for it? It's not just Beena that I'm pissed off at. It's also Abdullah, because the way Abdullah talks to Deepa, how he is so cold towards Deepa for having fallen in love with Raza, when Raza has also done the same thing. He's also fallen in love with Deepa. It just infuriates me. It goes to show how women are blamed for everything. Whatever a man does, again a woman is brought into it. It doesn't matter how big or how small that particular thing that he's being blamed for or she's being blamed for is, but it will always be a woman that the fingers are pointed out at. Priya does something without consulting Amit. Amit is rightfully angry, I understand, but I feel like he should have reprimanded Priya but not gone to those lengths, because it feels like way out of proportion at this point. And this was where I was like, this is very addictive, this book. So yeah, those were the reactions, the thoughts that I had so far. I will see you once I have some more thoughts. It's great so far and I'm loving it, and I hope that by the end of the book I will be able to say the exact same thing, that I love the book. Hi, hello. Today is the 8th of April and I have been reading Independence and it has been a couple of days since I finished reading part 4. I'm about 76% in at the moment, and there's just one part and an epilogue to go. I thought I would finish reading it, but I'm like this close and I am scrambling. But this part 4 was a lot of conflicting emotions, so I wasn't able to push myself into the story as much as I would have liked, and I somehow didn't feel like getting into the book further. So I thought I'll give it some time before I can come talk about part 4 before moving on to part 5. So now let me take you through part 4 before I move on to reading part 5. After I film this clip, I will sit and read and hopefully finish this book today. Okay, so in part 4 we see the sisters who are now flung far away from each other in different places and in different circumstances. Each of them is either pissed off or is sad or is resigned at their situation at hand. It is sad to see them that way because siblinghood, sisterhood is a thing, but you also understand why each of them is doing what they are doing. And at one point I thought I had an idea about where Priya's life was going to go. I mean, maybe it was a little presumptuous of me. Even now I'm like cautiously thinking that maybe that's what is going to happen to her. But I'm also like, maybe she finds love when she least expects it and where she least expects it. And when Somnath writes to Priya in his letters, he says, I pray the transition will occur smoothly. He's talking about the transition from into an independent India and into the partitioning into two nations. I pray the transition will occur smoothly, that we have all learned from the horrifying Calcutta riots that so tragically claimed his, that is Nabakumar's life. It couldn't be more different than what actually happened, could it? But nobody knew back then. They didn't have the slightest idea about what was going to transpire and in what a bloody way history was going to be written. At one point, Priya thinks humankind would be better off if there were no religions, and I wholeheartedly agree with her. I mean, I wouldn't say that every problem is caused by religion, but some of the biggest, the cruelest, and the most heartless ones are either a product of religion or are exacerbated by it. But that doesn't excuse the way religion is used, like a hatchet against one's neck. But then again, that logic folds into itself, because isn't that what I mean when I say that religion is the root of most of the problems in the world? And with each page turned, this fictional story shows how external forces can be a catalyst in the breakdown of a family. Does national independence mean that you can start having thoughts and opinions that are different from your families? Or does it cause a rift, or does it make that rift clearer and tell you that there's no turning back from it? And Independence, the book, asks all of these questions, and it is a narration of one of the many possible answers and paths to it. Jamini's letter to Priya is heartbreaking in how matter of fact it comes across as. The lessons she has learned, the things she has seen, the things that she has had to come to accept. It's all very deeply saddening, much like a sucker punch to the gut. No matter how her story ends, she refuses to believe that a woman cannot have the joys of home and also a place in the world. Each of the sisters' reactions to the events of the book are so different from what they would have been at the beginning of the book. It is startling to see, but it's also understandable, because what each of them has been through is nothing short of traumatic. And at the end of part 4, everything is up in the air waiting for resolution. There are quite a few heartbreakingly thrilling events that happened that had my heart racing. Like, grief was just behind that veil, and I could feel it peeking into my mind, into my heart. And I know that if in this last part something happens, then that grief will come crashing down on me. It will cross the boundaries of fiction and reality, and it will overtake me, and I cannot wait to see what CBD has in store for me. So yes, those were my thoughts up till chapter 4. I will now sit down and read for a bit. The way Priya has been forced, or she's been pushed into making these decisions. I mean, she's not the only one who is in such a position, as in she is in a dilemma right now. Fight between self-preservation and doing the right thing for her family. But it's still heartbreaking to see nevertheless, because she has given up a lot. To see her life so affected by it, to see her being pulled away from the life that she would have wanted, and now she is helpless to do anything in the face of it, because she has committed to whatever it is. But the writing is brilliant. It's evoking all those emotions like sadness, like understanding, like hope for her to get a happy ending, hope for her to find peace in life, hope for her to find her peace with her calling. She wants to be a doctor, that she ends up getting whatever it is she dreamed of at the beginning of the book. And it's not just because she wants to fulfill her father's dream. That is a separate person's dreams. It's about her ambition, her pride, her dreams, what she wants to do with life, and all the reasons that she wants to become a doctor are so selfless, just like Nabhakumar's work. Now we move on to Deepa's story, which has progressed logically, but at this point when you pause and take a look back, it was like, wait, there was such a long way that Deepa went, and now we are here. I don't know what else to do. And Jamini, on the other hand, she's like, okay, I don't want to talk about Jamini at this moment. Let's see how the book ends, and then I'll decide what I feel about her in the end. I mean, I am sympathetic towards her, but what I feel about her overall is going to take some time to formulate. Okay, I don't know what Jamini is up to, but she's done something which is giving me ideas, and my brain is like, what? See, what are you planning to do? And I have the tiniest suspicion about what she's trying to do, because she was carrying a bundle, and I think I am right. Okay, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let's just wait and see what exactly it is that she is planning. was right. What is that plan? I'm scared. Okay. What I was terrified of has come true. So I've just finished reading Independence and I really like it. I mean, there is a part in towards the end that I'm not a huge fan of. I thought that it was too cheesy and too, like, it has been done before. I was like, this is a very convenient way of bringing about the story in this manner. But other than that, it was a great book, and I know that I will take some time to gather my thoughts. So I will take a short break before wrapping it all up, but I want to leave you with this, which is the last few lines of this book, and it is a great way to end the book in my opinion. Here is a river, here is a wind rising, here is a village, here is the year. The river is time, ebbing, flooding. The wind is memory. It can carry flowers, it can carry flames. The village is the world and you are at its center. The year is now. What will you do with it? What will you do? And that's, I feel like whatever else problem that I have with the book, which is not much to be fair, this is a great way of ending the book. I would just say, if you're asking me whether I would recommend this book, then I would say yes, definitely. And I'm so glad to have gotten back to a point in reading Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni's bibliography where I actually love what she has written. I will have a more coherent mini book review of sorts once I've gathered my thoughts. So until then, hey there, just a few hours after finishing the book, I'm here with my mini book review for Independence by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, and I won't be going into the plot, I won't be explaining the plot again because we have seen that over the course of this vlog, but I hope that I will be able to sum my thoughts up like I actually want to. Let's go. The first thing that I love about this book is how fast-paced but intense it is. This is a combination that is very difficult to get right, but CBD does it with much ease. Secondly, even decades later, the partition is a very difficult topic to write about, not for lack of material, but because of the nuance, the understanding, and the sensitive eye that it demands. And CBD employs all of these admirably well to bring us a story of nation and family, and shows us how nation affects family. And I don't think that there is a setting that tests this more than the partition ever did. Thirdly, and rather fittingly, we follow the lives of these three sisters, and giving each of them their deserved page time might seem like a difficult task, but CBD does justice to each of these sisters and gives us a glimpse. She delves into the minds and hearts of each of them and helps us understand them better with each passing page. She makes it look effortless and easy, and I think that is something that can be attributed to a combination of her years of experience and the talent that makes her her. Then the national politics that come into play as the sisters have to make so many decisions, be it watching as the Gangulis follow India's leaders in their fight for freedom, or watching as their determination and hope devolves into a heartbroken resignation in the face of the personal and the political. We find ourselves extremely invested in the story. The communal riots that followed the announcement of the partition, the looting, the raping, the murdering, the house burning, all of it is extremely difficult to even hear. So when you are reading a book and you get invested in the story and you get invested in the characters, them going through all of this makes it even more difficult to read, no matter how eloquently the author, like CBD here, puts them in words. But what makes Independence so good is that the characters are layered and consistent with change, and their arcs are shifting and changing according to the experiences and according to the decisions that they make. It is easy to read, it's fast-paced, it's succinct, it's flowy, and the main plot of this, the actual heart of the story, spans from 1946 to 40 48, and what the sisters have to go through is so heartbreakingly sad. The cornerstone of this book, however, is its portrayal of sisterhood. It encompasses beautifully the way that these three sisters behave, what they are prepared to do for each other, and what they are prepared to grab for themselves, how their equation morphs over time, but how underneath it all, their love for each other shines. The thing that I didn't like and I found a little too contrived came towards the end, where one of the characters meets a much loved national leader. It felt a little too forced to me, and I wish that it had been done a little bit differently. But overall, I think Independence is a really great book. Really loved the consistency in the plot, and I think that the characters were very well fleshed out. If you're looking for a historical fiction book based on the partition and you don't mind the occasional cheesiness, then this is one book that you should definitely pick up. So that was my reading vlog for the subscriber pick for the month of March, which was Independence by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. What did you think of this video? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Have you read Independence? Did you like it? And have you read any books by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni? Did you like any of them? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.